This is otherwise state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IAwrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IAwrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IAwrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Potentially Dangerous, episode 99, the week of the night of conflict. I'm your host, Tony Hager, joined by Ross Bartachek. We are fired up. You should be too, because the best guys in Iowa, some of the best guys around the country are coming to Carver, coming to Iowa, 7 o'clock, pumped up. We got a full preview here for you. We did the first 5 matches on last week's episode, so you can go back on iTunes, check that out. And we've got a few matches here to round up the show. But first off, Ross, you getting any sleep, or are you as nervous as I am that this event's going to go off without a hitch? I mean, we've been pretty lucky the last 2 years, but putting 1,000 people in an arena and putting 11 matches together of high school kids, sometimes things can go south quickly.
Right now, for me, I'm doing pretty good. Once we get probably Thursday night, Friday, I'm going to be a nervous wreck. But right now, I'm feeling a little bit of calm just because I feel like, we've been through some of these steps before, but it's going to be a little bit different this year. So I know once I get, in the arena, once I'm seeing the guys show up to weigh in, it's going to be a game changer where I'm probably just going to be – I'm not going to remember anything from Friday morning to the end of the event. I'm going to be like, it just happened in a blink.
It's like your own wedding, right? You got so much stuff going on, and you just don't even remember your freaking wedding,
That's exactly what I'd compare it to.
And you're not drinking during the day, too. So, I mean, just to show you that your mind just is going crazy. There is a lot of steps that have to go right, I guess, for the event to go out of the way. But it's going to be pretty quick. We got to set up at 5 o'clock. Doors open at 6. Event kicks off at 7. So we got to get in, get set up really quick. So hopefully we'll get as much done as we can beforehand. But this will be – we're going back to the center, the back of the center of Carver. And this is something new too, guys and gals listening to the show that have been to Night of Conflict before. We are going to be wrestling on the bottom of the Iowa Hawkeyes wrestling mat. So it's 42 feet, massive mat, and we still got a push-out rule. So it'll be interesting to see kind of if we even have any push-outs on the night. That's a big mat.
We've been using a normal mat. Obviously, the first year we kind of didn't have rules nailed down. Last year I think we had 3 push-outs, so I'm thinking if we get near 3 this year, that kids aren't controlling the center very well if we're getting push-outs this year.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys have some freestyle experience too, right, in Greco. So almost everybody in this event this year really has some freestyle background. So I think they're going to be more aware of that push-out rule, especially with that bigger mat. So pretty pumped for that. And
fans are showing up.
What?
Said fans are showing up early. I mean, we got the bleacher seats on the floor already sold out, you said?
Gone. 90 tickets are sold. 90 tickets are sold on the bleachers, and I've got 8 tickets left for VIP, and there's 50 on the floor for that too. So we'll have over 100 on the floor, over 100, almost 150 people on the floor, and then the general admission too. So, and we're going to try to put everybody in one spot on the general admission too. Make it, God, you can have 5,000 people at Carver, and it looks like there's only 100. So, definitely going to try to do a better job of policing people and trying to get them in and around where that stream is on Flow Wrestling. But pumped for the event. Let's get to some of these matchups here. So again, we did go over the first 5 matchups last week. Check that out on episode 98. So the next matchup on the card is number 3 Malcolm Robinson from New Jersey taking on number 20 Michael Blockus from New Hampton. New name, that's Michael Millage. Michael Millage is his former name. Now he has switched to Blockus, and I think I don't know the whole story behind there. I'm hoping to find a little bit more about the name change, but still the Dangerous Mike is going to be on the mat, and I feel like, Ross, that he does well wrestling under pressure against better wrestlers. And on an event like this where there's one match, maybe the tournaments, that's a kind of a grind. But he's wrestled a lot of national events, a lot of national wrestlers. Out of this whole field from guys from Iowa, I do feel like he has maybe the upper hand as far as being comfortable wrestling kids higher ranked than him and not from the state of Iowa.
I think you put it right when you say he's a guy that he's competed on big stages, and he's not afraid to go out and wrestle those higher tier guys, so to speak. And we saw that last year when he got his first invite. He came in and wrestled Jason Renneria, who's the number 1 ranked guy. He was giving up some weight to wrestle Renneria, and he came in and he got beat, but he put up some takedowns against the guy. Renteria, he's not a small dude for his weight as it was. So Mike's a guy that he comes in and he scraps. He's a hard fighter. Flow Nationals runner up. We love Mike Millage, Mike Blockus. That's actually. Did you see Noah Glasser, his teammate, committed to Northern Iowa today?
Yeah, I did see that. New Hampton's you and I just rolling in the New Hampton boys.
Yeah, and so that was great news, and I can't remember who put it out on Twitter that he was he will join his New Hampton teammates there at UNI. And kind of like you said with that name change, I kind of don't know how. It's obviously going to be difficult for me calling him Mike Millage forever, but even writing it in articles, I was thinking if I write Mike Blockus, is somebody going to go like, hey, who is that? So I had to put it like Millage in parentheses. So I'm probably going to say it both ways on the podcast too, just so people until it finally sticks. It's pretty new. So apologies if I run through it too fast and forget to say it. But no, he's a tough kid. And I think out of all the guys that are underrated in this event, just no matter what, I think he's probably got the best shot to knock somebody off.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, but I believe Robinson is kind of bumping up a little bit too in weight in order to wrestle Mike. So I think there might be a little bit of might be a little bit bigger than him too. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays into how Robinson takes this match. With a push out rule too. I mean, if you got somebody that's bigger than you, that definitely comes into play. So both of them don't have I would say huge national accolades. Robinson obviously has competed at the Ironman Beast to East, but he hasn't won them. He's not knocking out huge international events, and Mike has been to some of these big events. So none of these guys, even though he is ranked number 3, he doesn't have crazy accolades, on his resume. He's been towards the top, but just hasn't been able to win that title. And I feel like Mike is kind of there too.
Yeah, and Malcolm, he wrestles for Blair Academy, one of the, probably the top 2, top 3 school nationally. For going back to I don't even know how far back it goes. How long they've been just the top of the nation. So obviously he comes from a good pedigree. You don't get to go to Blair and wrestle unless you kind of got some athletic talent there. And I think Mike, I like his scrappy style. I guess I didn't realize Malcolm might be giving up a little bit of weight, so that's definitely going to be another chip. But I know Mike's committed to UNI, but he's still kind of on a home mat, being in his home state. He only had to drive, an hour and a half maybe to get to Iowa City, sleeping in his own bed a little bit more, where, Robinson's got to come from clear across the country. It's just going to be a little bit different, even wrestling in these national events, traveling from the East Coast to the Midwest, there's just a little bit of that that travel fatigue that could set in, that I'm going to be really interested to see how, Robinson handles that wrestling. And I mean, New Hampton, have they bought any tickets? I don't know how hostile the environment's going to be for him.
From what I know, I haven't seen any New Hampton tickets roll in. I mean, I've seen a few here and there, but no blocks of tickets. So I don't know if I thought there would be. I don't know if New Hampton's a big football town or what, but
well, they showed up last year. That's kind of why I was wondering.
Yeah, they just came the 11th hour. Bought a bunch of tickets. So it'll be interesting to see. That Phi match was pretty big, if I remember right. That was wasn't it Phi?
Yeah, Noah's. I think his family bought like 20 themselves. So
that's good. But yeah, so this will be kind of halfway point in the night of conflict. Be a big match for Mike, big match for Malcolm coming in. I think that's a good point to raise about him traveling all this way. And, kudos to a lot of these guys for traveling all the way. I was on KCW Iowa Live this morning, and the guys were like, so you guys get these guys to travel clear across the country, and it's an exhibition match, right? And they're putting on their ranking on the line. And that's what I like about when we get a guy that comes to these events, they're not picking and choosing who they wrestle. They're just saying, hey, we'll come and put on a show. And that's how you become a better wrestler. I mean, Dayton Fix, there's a reason why he's one of the best. He's one of the best wrestlers in our country right now, because he literally will wrestle anybody at any given time. So kudos to these guys in this event coming from a long ways. Our next matchup, our first matchup that we actually announced for the night of conflict, is top 10 matchup. Number 5, Jeremiah Reno from Missouri coming in to wrestle number 9, Colin Traver from Iowa, state champ from Mason City. This is a big test for Colin, I think. I think he wants to, redeem himself a little bit from Fargo. I think he had a disappointing Fargo, and I think this is an opportunity for him to. I'm really kind of curious to see how he is weight-wise. I've heard that he's maybe going back down to 106 for this season for 3A. It'll be interesting to see. I figured he'd be bumping up. But I heard a rumor the other day that he's going to 106 this season. But what are your thoughts on this matchup, Ross?
The background on this matchup, this was one we kind of tag teamed together to set up. So obviously I'm really excited about it. Colin, I mean, we wanted him in last year. Super 32 kind of interfered with that just because, he's got that big name. He's obviously got the talent. He's put it on display at the Conflict at Carver tournament where he was, middle school OW. So everyone knows how good Colin is, but you sent that message, hey, he's in, and he wants Reno. That's kind of what really got me excited about this match. So we went down to Missouri. We asked his club coach. We said, hey, is Jeremiah interested in this match? And they jumped at it. So this is just a really good match when you got two guys really excited about it. They met at, I think they wrestled at postseason nationals there in Cedar Falls, where Reno came out on top, if I'm right. Or I don't know if you remember or not.
I don't remember.
They've wrestled. It was either that or maybe
they wrestled at the Akron,
Cadets.
Akron, the cadet freestyle tournament. Reno won 7-4. It was in the semifinals.
That's right. So I know there was redemption looking for Shriver's end. Reno's obviously, he's willing to come up here, and Colin's good enough to be a top 5 wrestler nationally. So, you kind of say, like, those TV people ask you, these guys are willing to put their ranking on the line. That does say a lot about Jeremiah to come in here. He's got a top 5 ranking. And he's willing to go up against Colin, who's just as good as him. They're probably neck and neck. So these are guys that were both top 5 middle schoolers a year ago or 2 years ago, I guess. So this will be a really, really great match.
Is this one are they weighing at 12? Do you know? Do you know what they're even weighing in at?
Or
is it 106?
It's either it might be 106 scratch. I guess I'd have to go look, but it's 106. I don't know if there's a couple pounds or not. But.
Okay. All right. So I guess that really kind of tells us the tale as far as whether Colin's bulking up or not. So, actually, I just checked my list here. 113.
113?
113 is the weight that I've got here on our list.
Oh boy.
So hopefully Reno knows that.
Yeah, I better find out. No, so that'd be good. Trying to think where I was going with that. I think, Rathjen, when we were talking to him setting up a match, he seemed like, 106 wasn't really in the cards for him for this event. He was saying he'd go as high as 120, which I don't think he's going to wrestle 120 in the season. But no, it's Colin. If he goes back to 106, he's obviously going to be the odds-on favorite there in 3A, even with a tough Drake Ayala likely being there. But I'm telling you, this is going to be one of our best matches.
Yep, two explosive guys, scrappy, fast, and I think I like Colin here. I think that's who I'm going to pick to pick off Reno, and I'm going to take. We didn't make picks on this last matchup, but I think I'm going to take Mike. I think I'm going to take Mike to upset Robinson. I'm going to be an Iowa homer here and pick back-to-back wins for Iowa boys here. How about you?
I'll go back and I do like Mike. I think he's a tough competitor. But top 5 guys, it's kind of hard to pick against him. So I guess, just kind of for that sake, I'll go with him. But I really think Colin is just as good, if not better than Reno. So I think I would pick Colin in the 1-0 or whatever that matchup is.
I think it will be, I think a push out rule. I feel like a push out rule is going to come into this matchup, just like something that we weren't expecting. I think this is going to be one of our best matchups. There's going to be some crazy scrambles, and Colin's going to be pushing. He's going to be pushing the pace on this. So if he keeps that up, if his shape is there, we know that Seabolt's probably been on his rear, making sure he's in shape. So it'll be interesting to see, how Colin's doing up a weight class here a little bit. So let's go on to our next one. Top 5 matchup here. Peyton Robb from Minnesota versus Andrew Marola from New Jersey. So top 5 matchup. I don't know if we've had a top 5 matchup. I should have looked at that, but I feel like we've had, obviously had Alex Marinelli in there, but this is a big time matchup as far as rankings go for our matchup. To bring in, Blair Academy from New Jersey, come in from Minnesota guy. This is two matchups two guys that I'm excited to see to be able to travel all the way to Iowa. Do you know if we've had a top 5 matchup before?
Drew Hughes, Marinelli. If it wasn't top 5, it was, Hughes might have been 6 or 7. I thought he was a top 5, but that one I wouldn't be sure. But I know last year we had Colton Schultz versus Jared Campbell. That was a 2 versus 3. And depending on what time, when we set it up with Caden G. Feller and who was it, Hernandez from Illinois, that's who he wrestled, I think. They were a top 5 matchup when we set it up. I don't know if they were by the time they wrestled, but that was so this would be, not a first, but definitely a really good matchup. Peyton Robb's obviously a really successful Midwest wrestler, Minnesota guy. Really tough, and then you got another Blair Academy. I don't know how you can, go wrong with a matchup like that.
Yeah, we've got Rob is a 2-time Minnesota State champ, and we know Minnesota guys up there. That's not an easy tournament up there to win. So I like Rob here a lot. Obviously, you got the guys coming from Blair Academy. So right away, just by looking at this, I did watch a little bit of Rob's matches. I haven't watched any of his opponents, but so I guess I probably shouldn't say, hey, he's going to dominate Marola, but I'm picking Rob here just because of what I saw. I feel like he is college ready type wrestler too. Rob is. I think Marola's got a little bit more room to go, but so I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Rob to come in here and pick up the Night of Conflict match.
I think we're going to have a lot of similar picks here through the end because I think, Peyton Robb, he's got that, I don't know, I feel like he's more bulldog mentality. I don't know. He's a tough guy. I've seen him wrestle a couple times, mainly due to just being in the Midwest and, guys running into him at Northern Plains or whatever. So I think Peyton Robb, I've just based on, like you said, I've probably seen him more, which is going to lead to me, favoring a guy that you've actually watched a little bit of film on.
Well, a guy that we've seen plenty of is coming back to Night of Conflict for his third time in a row.
Third time.
0-2 barbecue, Aiden Reeves is, but he's coming back, man. I've been kind of texting him back and forth since we've gotten this match to him, and he definitely has a different head on his shoulders from last year and the year before. Number 18 coming into this match against Cody Phippen from Missouri. Fippen's been in the Night of Conflict as well, so both of these are veterans when it comes to being at the Night of Conflict. So we've got a border brawl here and veterans. I'm excited about this. What are your thoughts on Reeves' shot to take out Phippen here?
I think if you're looking at the rankings, you're going to be a little bit misled. When we set this matchup up, it was a really good match on paper. And just seeing Aiden at 18 and Phippen at 8, you're probably going to think there's a little bit of disparity, but they Flo bumped Aiden up to 120, which is probably where he's going to be. I don't know where Phippen's going to go weight-wise for the season or nationals going forward, but I think if they're at the same weight, they're probably going to be ranked right in the same tier. So like earlier I said, Mike's got as far as an underdog ranking role, he's got the best shot. I don't really count this at Aiden in that category because I think he's right there with Cody. I think what I noticed most when Phippen wrestled Biscaglia, I felt like they were, I don't want to call them the same type of wrestler, but I felt like they're both very good defensively. So that's just kind of something I noticed the first time we saw him in our event. So I kind of like Aiden in this matchup. Like I said, I think they're on that same tier of rankings. I don't think there's much separating them with talent. And I kind of like Aiden's, he really turned it around this year. And I think he's got a little bit of a clutch gene in him that's clicking for him right now, at least.
At the state tournament, he just had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. There are some people that doubted that he could get, to be a state champ. That was a tough weight class. So I feel like this might be one of those situations, too, where he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because of his ranking. And like I said, from talking to him, it sounds like he's ready to rock and roll today. Like he's ready to get on the mat and take out Phippen. So I feel like this is, Reeves also, too, is a guy that I feel like is kind of under the radar when it comes to recruiting rankings. He's been on the smaller side of things, so I do feel like he needs to get to 120 this year and hopefully 126 his senior year. So this would be a really good springboard for him to knock off a top 10 guy, get noticed nationally by some people at this event, and I think this is just an opportunity waiting for Aiden Reeves to knock on the door and go through that sucker. So we'll see if he happens. So he's gonna be disappointed if he doesn't get it done though.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of a difference. We talked about him being 0-2 in this event, but as a freshman he came in against Portillo, giving up a lot of experience. I think he gave up weight. He wrestled 106, wrestling 113 pounder. But he kind of wanted that challenge. He wanted to test himself, so we gave him that match to see what he could do. Obviously, he didn't get blown away in that one. Last year was a little bit of a different story for him, so I think he's kind of, like you said, he's kind of been through it all. He knows what he needed to do, and he's ready to go this year. I don't have any doubt about that he's ready to come out here and really prove himself. He's got a chance to knock off a top 10 guy. I don't know what more he could ask for.
Moving on to the next matchup. So I'm picking Reeves in that one, by the way. I'm picking Reeves.
Ditto. Can't pick against. Third time's got to be the charm for this guy.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
I mean, especially when you go back to that state tournament. You said he had a chip on his shoulder, but, I mean, watching him come out in those matches, beating Fout, he had to really dig deep to beat him in the semis, and then going out there and beating Webster City. Drake Doolittle in the finals, two guys that are, maybe they're probably going to end their careers nationally ranked. by the time they maybe even this year. So, I mean, he had to come through a tough bracket. He beat Biscaglia at Freestyle State. This is a guy that's starting to get some big wins, and I think it's just going to happen, man.
Well, let's move on to our next matchup. This was one that I didn't have my hand on, and so maybe you can kind of quarterback this one. But number 3, Tony Cassiope, Hawkeye recruit, Hawkeye commit, coming to Carver Hawkeye Arena. He's taking on Ronald Tucker. At the time, I believe this is a top 10 matchup when this was set up, but since then Tucker has dropped from the rankings. So I guess how did this matchup come about, bringing Tucker in for Tony?
Well, Cassiope, he's number 3 in the nation. This is a guy that he's Triple Crown winner. He beat his future teammate Aaron Costello in the folk style finals. And then he dominated out at Fargo. He won Pan Am, double gold there for junior team. So this is a guy that's obviously really comfortable, in just about anything. He's athletic. He moves really well for a heavyweight. And he's number 3 in the nation. And there's 2 guys ahead of him. And they are, the phenom Gable Stevenson and Penn State bound Seth Nevlis of California. Didn't get a hold of Stevenson. That probably would have been a really big fan matchup. But Nevlis is, I don't know what it was. I didn't really want to pry, but they got the invite. They said they'd consider it. And after a while of consideration, they just didn't think it would work, so they didn't come out. So from there, it was, who you going to find for Cassiope? He's obviously going to be, he's just a really good guy. And I asked, who do you guys want? And Ronald Tucker was the name they brought up, even though he's from the same state. Ronald was a, Fargo finalist, not this summer, but a summer ago. So he's a guy that's got some good national accolades under his belt as well. So this was a match the Cassiopes really wanted. I mean, we threw out some other names in the top 10, and they would have been fine taking them, but the name they wanted was Ronald Tucker.
Yeah, well, Tucker's the reason kind of probably why he's not on the rankings anymore is he didn't show up. He didn't go to Fargo, so that really kind of hurt his. I know that Float really puts a lot of stock in what happens at Fargo. So this is a huge opportunity for Tucker to come in and knock off Tony, a guy from his own state. So these 2, a lot of success across the border. So I gotta stick with Tony though here. The Hawkeye commit to come into Carver, first time there. Hopefully the Hawkeye fans that are in attendance they're rooting for him, and he can get the job done for those Hawkeye fans.
Got to pick the future Hawk too, wrestling on his future home mat.
Our next matchup, the main event. Number 5, Joel Shapiro from Valley. Guy, he's never told us who he wants to wrestle. He just says, give me the best we can get, and he's always trusted us. Well, we went out and got Brandon Whitman. Yeah, so this is a number 4 matchup, top 5 matchup now, and this is our main event. Had to be our main event. Joel Shapiro has just had an amazing last 360 days, right? I mean, he is just springboarded himself up. Iowa State commit now, and this is easily the fastest rising wrestler that we have had in our state. Besides, I think Julian Broderson. He's not in our event, but I think that's a guy that definitely is on the outskirts and reminds me so much of Joel Shapiro. But what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I don't think we could have put together a better main event match. Top 5 guys, like you said, Shapiro's on the rise. Last year we had to have him in this event because we could see last year that this guy's stock was taken off. He's just an incredible wrestler. He was undefeated last year, undefeated state champ for Valley. I thought they said he was the first undefeated state champ for them at the state tournament. That could be a wrong statistic. Either way, he's obviously, one of the top guys on a really good, nationally ranked program. Whitman is another. I mean, these guys are going to be 2 quality Division I athletes. And this is just like when we put Schultz and Campbell together, this match is going to be a great one. So, I mean, if you're not fired up for this match, you don't have to be an Iowa State, a Michigan fan. You're just or North Carolina. That's where Whitman's headed, right?
Yep.
You don't have to be one of those fans to be excited. This is high-level wrestling at its finest.
And that's what I love about this matchup. I think we catch a little bit of flack because this is on the campus of Iowa, and we're only getting Iowa recruits. I mean, there's only one Hawkeye recruit commit in this event. I mean, our main event is an Iowa State commit, and someone's going to North Carolina, Tony Ramos. I mean, that's just not what it's about. This is a huge matchup. Whitman actually, for the Hawkeye fans that are listening, Whitman actually beat Trent Hidley this summer at Disney Duels, I believe it was, or no, the Junior National Duels. So Hidley just had a huge win at Who's Number One on Sunday. So he does have a big win, 13-2 over that match. And I haven't watched the matchup, and obviously freestyle is different than folk style, but this is not an easy win for Joel Shapiro. This is a huge matchup for him, and really kind of make his stake as going to go down to one of the best wrestlers in Valley history and one of the best in Iowa history. And I think he's going to do great things at the college level.
Yeah, so who are you picking then? I mean, I'm assuming you're taking Joel.
My heart tells me Shapiro. My mind, after seeing who Whitman has beat, has said, hey, you should probably pick Whitman. But Joel is on a tear, right? He has been wrestling really well. He's a little bit under the weather last week. So, I mean, if he's 100% healthy, Joel Shapiro is going to take this matchup, end the night off really well for Iowans. But, if he's a little slow, I know he did lose a little bit of weight because he's been dealing with a little bit of sickness. So it'll be interesting to see if he's healthy or not. So this one's hard for me to pick against Joel. But I think under the weather is really going to be maybe the reason why he doesn't win the match. But like I said, if he's healthy, this is his match.
Yeah, like you say, your heart tells you Joel Shapiro is going to come out on top of this. Gut instinct says maybe it's going to be Whitman. So that's probably where I'm going to lean. Whitman's got. I mean, Joel's really rocketed up, but Whitman's got legit accolades. So he's a proven guy. He's won all over the country, and everyone knows, I think, the world of Joel Shapiro. I think he's a really good guy. So, it hurts me to pick against him, but if I'm giving my legit analysis, I think it's going to be Whitman come Friday. So
there you have it. Quick preview from us for the rest of the night of conflict. What we want to make sure I got this on the podcast is Friday. There's going to be a pre-night of conflict social at the Vine from 4:30 to 6 o'clock. That's when doors open. So if you've been to a Hawkeye Duel before, there's a little restaurant just west of Carver Hawkeye Arena as you move up to the walk up to the Carver Hawkeye Arena. So just a little bit of a walk. They're fine with you parking there, coming back later. So if you don't want to park up the top of the hill, which would be kind of weird, but I mean you can park there, eat supper. Mark Perry's supposed to be there along with hopefully Thomas Gilman. Be kind of a welcome home, world medal party. I don't think that Ross and I are going to be able to make it because we'll be setting stuff up. But if I wasn't setting up, I would sure be throwing a few back and getting pumped up for a wrestling event on a Friday night. I mean, wrestling's here, and what better way to kick the year off at Carver Hawkeye?
I mean, for sure. If you got time, I would go to the Vine because there's nobody that's going to get you more pumped up to come watch some wrestling than Mark Perry. His enthusiasm, his confidence. I mean, just talking to the guy, he makes you believe things that you're like, there's no way. But then he just keeps talking, and the amount of seriousness, the dead look, and he'll make eye contact. You just believe him. So, I mean, he makes you believe it, I should say. So I would highly suggest going to that social. Like you said, we're not going to be there most likely with setup, but unfortunately, I think we're going to miss out on a really good time.
Yeah. Well, we'll hopefully make up for it after. But
that's right.
So the pre-night of conflict social. I also wanted to throw this little nugget out there too. So I was at a Hawkeye Wrestling Club there's a Des Moines chapter now, Ross. And we were, I was there trying to find some volunteers, and Luke Eustace was there talking about this facility. the new facility the Iowa Hawkeyes are trying to put together, and plans are like, they're there. I mean, everything but renderings are basically done. Right now they're trying to find a location. Apparently there's 5 to 6 locations that could possibly be on the campus. And obviously he didn't tell me where those were at, but this is actively happening. Like, they are surveying areas where this facility could happen. And, you know, they're expecting to break ground like this summer. So this is something that is quickly happening, and the university is behind. And I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen, like, soon. Hopefully we'll have renderings here in the next, 6 to 12 months. But it's pretty exciting. And another reason why I think that maybe it's happening is some of you might know Adam Fellers from social media. Definitely isn't scared to keep quiet. But in the end, he's a great guy. He's a great story of the reason why he is coming back. He's a former Iowa wrestler coming back to help the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. But the Hawkeye Wrestling Club actually just hired him as a financial advisor, or at least gave him kind of a title for that. So he's out trying to raise money for the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, lots of money. And that's just something, Randy Novak, he's the president. There's only so much stuff that those guys can do. And Fellers has that connections, it sounds like. So pretty exciting things for Hawkeye fans coming down the pipeline. Other than that, happened around the state of Iowa. I mean, I've really just been Northern Iowa obviously got Glasser. I saw Schwab tweeted again that there could be another commit, so haven't heard anything on that. So stay tuned to IAwrestle. I'm sure we'll have the news here soon. But
just kind of throwing it out there, Megan Black, Rachel Waters, Sammy Brooks all making the U23 team this weekend. That was pretty fun. Sammy coming through, beating Miles Martin, Brett Farr. Rachel went up a weight to make at 75 kilos for the women, and Megan, this is her first, actual world team. She wrestled in Canada for the Junior Pan Am, so not overseas, but I mean, she wrestled internationally for U.S., but this is her first official world team, so that's pretty exciting for, our women's team's doing really good. They look like, have some really promising future. Sammy Brooks, his first, he's made a cadet, a junior, and now a U23 team. The only thing that's left for him is the senior world team. So a lot of exciting things just for U23 this weekend too.
Well, that's all I got, man. That's all I got. Night of Conflict. We're gonna have episode 100 next week. Maybe we might take a week off just to kind of whoosah, but I don't know. I kind of want to get to episode 100. We're there. So, yeah.
Well, we got to have a special guest, so we got to figure that out.
We'll figure that out. But, yeah, we're pumped. Night of Conflict is there. Hopefully you are pumped, too. If you can't make it out to Carver Hawkeye Arena, it will be on Flow Wrestling. The guys from Flow will be there. And the Conflict at Carver sold out. Over 700 wrestlers for the Conflict at Carver the next day. A reminder, if you are wrestling in that event, you get in for free. Your mom and dad are going to have to pay to get in, but you get in for free right after weigh-ins. Stick around or go grab a bite to eat at the Vine, and then come on back after weigh-ins and see some of the best wrestlers we have in Iowa and around the country. So for Ross Bartachek, myself, everybody at IAwrestle, thank you for buying tickets. This will be the biggest event that we have had so far. We look forward to seeing you Friday. Got any questions, feel free to holler at us at Hager Tony, at Ross Bchek on Twitter. I think that's your Twitter still, right? You didn't change it again?
Nope.
Perfect. This has been episode 99 of Potentially Dangerous, brought to you by IAwrestle.
Get low when the whistle go.